What is Montessori?
Montessori is a philosophy. It's a way of living. She just came up to me and said, "Your daughter is dumb."
Daughter is dumb. मेरा बच्चा छोटा है. I will do everything for my child. Versus the need of the child in 0 to 6 says, I want to do everything myself. They follow the child. No, what does it mean? My child wants to watch TV.
Right.
Should I follow the child?
Follow the child means that follow the child from the day one of the birth.
So, what are the ways in which Montessori differs from traditional education? You think kids should be going to school at 18 months?
Answer to that question is yes and no.
When these young kids are dropped to school, don't they cry?
Absolutely. Why will they not cry? The child cries for 2 reasons.
So how does the Montessori classroom work? Children can come and do anything they want. Periods or lecture where everybody is sitting in a line.
Right.
That is not what is happening.
Right.
Can you show us something, how something is done differently in the Montessori? I'm here today with Geeta Harisinganey, the co-founder of Sweven Montessori. It is the school that my daughter goes to. But more importantly, the first time I met Geeta, something clicked. I said, oh, I finally met someone who understands children, who understands education. That is the feeling I got the first time I met her, I think 3.5 years ago. And after that, we've stayed in touch, we've become friends. And whenever I am thinking about something around children, when I am stuck in a situation, I go and chat up with her. So thank you, Geeta, so much for taking out time. I'm very happy that we are chatting here, sitting in Sweven project you and Mala came up with, and it is actually alive with kids, bustling with kids. And we have found time today evening after kids are gone to chat with each other. Actually, I don't know the story fully, but how did you always want to start a school? How did this idea came about? What was that journey?
It's actually funny. I never had imagined in my wildest dreams that I wanted to start a school.
You didn't want me in education, nothing of that sort.
It was never on my radar. I never thought about it, never imagined it. I never thought I was ever going to teach. A lot of people tell me it's like the missing puzzle piece in my life that just happened. And I think it started mostly with my daughter's journey with education. And it was one day at a PTM where I got to meet her teacher.
How old was your daughter?
My daughter was a 7-year-old.
7-year-old.
Yes. And she was a tomboy. She was known to be a tomboy. So that PTM was an eye-opener for me, where the teacher, a very young teacher from BSc, a fresh grad who was taking their class, she just came up to me and said, "I didn't want to embarrass you in front of others, so I made you wait. And your daughter is dumb."
Your daughter is dumb?
Yes. That was
For a 7-year-old?
For a 7-year-old. And that blew me away. And I was like, all right, how do you define a 7-year-old to be a dumb kid? And the only answer she had was that your daughter doesn't raise hand in the class. She doesn't want to answer the questions. She's always looks kind of blanked out, and she's looking outside the classroom. So, and none of those kind of made sense to me. I was like, how can that define for a kid to be dumb? And mind you, she was a kid who used to score 28 on 30 and 29 on 30 in her test scores. And in spite of that, that teacher had the audacity to say that your daughter is dumb. And I was like, I don't get it. I mean, I've finally sat down, chatted with the teacher, and I told her, probably you have the words that you're using are not right. You probably want to say my daughter is not engaged in the classroom. She doesn't like to impress upon a teacher. She doesn't like to, want to get attention to herself. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can say this, but I think the vocabulary that you're bringing up here is not appropriate. And she and I had a conversation where I told her, you observe her for a week and you do a few exercises. Why don't you ask her something that you think she can't answer? And if 3 out of 5 she gets wrong, we'll again come back and discuss about your comment.
Yeah.
It was as simple as that. And I went home and I kept thinking after that it doesn't make sense, right? How do you hire these teachers who don't have the right sense of even understanding a child's psychology? I mean, a 7-year-old is not supposed to sit down on a bench and be watching the blackboard. A 7-year-old is not supposed to be engaged in the classroom looking at one point for more than 15 minutes. They are supposed to move around. Probably the outdoors invites or excites them better. And so there were so many things that kind of played out in my mind, and I kept thinking, what should I be doing? I mean, and if my daughter doesn't fit into this structure,
ecosystem in school,
how do I go about it? And at that time, I had no clue about education. I had no clue of any of the pedagogies. I had no sense of, that as a parent, I have to.
What were you doing at that point?
I had a stint. I'm an engineer, and my second interest is actually arts and fashion. And I had done a few courses, and I had my own small brand that I was starting off for children's
When
clothing.
this happened? Okay, so you're doing a brand for children's clothing.
Yes.
And then this happened.
And
Then
this
what
happened. And it so happened that I was sharing the space that I used to work out of was a Montessori. So I kind of rented the place out in the evening, and it was Montessori in the morning, and all the material in the morning Montessori intrigued me. And I was very curious. And
that was the first introduction to
that
Montessori.
was the first introduction.
Something like this exists.
Something like this exists. And I would dabble with the material, sit there and just keep exploring it. And I kind of applied my engineering sense, and I kind of made sense of most of it. And it so happened that I called the owner one day and I said, it's summertime and I want to use a space in the morning. Can you rent it out to me? And she said, I am closing the school.
He said, I'm closing the school.
I'm closing the school. And she said, I've already sent out the email to the parents. And if you really want the space, you'll have to go to the builder because the space belongs to him. And I said, why are you closing a Montessori? It's the only Montessori in the area, right? I mean, and by now, with all these years, I think I started in 2009 and we were looking at 2014. And so I had done enough.
You already
reading.
dabbled in five years of this.
Yeah, and I had started reading up a lot on pedagogies because I was wondering that there has to be something. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. I'm sure these problems have existed. And being in the Montessori environment, it kind of told me that, there was the possibility of exploratory learning. And when I spoke to this lady and that one question that I asked her, why are you closing a Montessori? She welled up and she said, will you run it for me? And I said, I've never run a school, but I feel sad that we're closing a Montessori. Like, why don't we just have coffee? Let's go out. And that's one meeting with her where we had coffee. I think we just settled saying that I will give it a shot.
So you ran that school for a few years.
Yes, 2 years. Yeah.
And after that, you started your own school.
Yes.
Sweven Montessori.
That's good.
And that has brought you here. So let me ask you a question which so many parents ask me. What is Montessori?
So Montessori is a philosophy. It's a way of living. It is basically saying, let your hands do and your brain learn. It's as simple as that. So it is basically an idea that Maria Montessori came up 100 years ago, where she realized that when you learn with didactic material and you explore things with your hands, your learning is concrete, and that concrete can turn into abstract easily. And it's easy on children to kind of visualize and imbibe the concepts. That is one thing. The other thing that she also taught was that a child is an individual. It's not an empty box that needs to be filled up with all kinds of things by adults. Instead, the child needs to make their own impressions and create their own ideas about these impressions. So she came up with this sense of saying that a school should be a small mini community where the children can be given these exposures or experiences where they kind of access and handle them with their own hands, small hands, and they build their own ideas, which then can be extrapolated later in their life and applied with creativity. So it's actually, it basically says follow the genetic blueprint of the child, allow the child to follow the genetic blueprint, and don't intervene with the child.
It's a very confusing statement.
Yeah.
I have read it a lot in Maria Montessori's books. Now I have a, I think, more nuanced view of this. But for a parent to say to a parent, hey, follow the child.
Right.
No, what does it mean? My child wants to watch TV.
Right.
Should I follow the child?
Right.
What do you say about that?
So see, follow the child does not mean that follow the child by creating your view of the world and then follow the child. The follow the child say means that follow the child from the day one of the birth, right? Now, when you say that you follow the child from day one of the birth, your child did not want to watch TV, right? On day one, did they want to watch TV? Or did you allow them to watch TV at that point? No, right? So follow the child says that allow the child to be on their own and then only provide as and when required as asked by the child. Now, what that means is, let's say if the child is hungry, the child is going to call for it, right? So at that time, you provide the child the food, right? But if the child is wanting to run, let's say, then allow the child and let the child run. And now you know that the child actually needs sneakers. And you should just make sure that your environment has the next step available so that the child can access it and move forward. Basically, follow the child means that the child will call out for their own need. You don't need to call out for them.
So asking the child again and again, are you hungry? Are you hungry? Are you hungry? Is not following the child.
Not required at all. Yeah, basically follow the child means that let the child call out the need that they have. And then you just be available, or you make the next step available, not to make the child dependent on you, but more so to child to explore their own independence and call out the next need that they would have.
So observe the child and create a safe environment for the child so that whatever is required for the child can be provided. So what are the other ways, Geeta, in which Montessori differs from traditional education? Like a parent has to choose, right? Should I send my child to Montessori? Should I send my child to traditional education? For example, one thing you said is your daughter and so many kids you met went to traditional education, where the whole idea was to go from third class to fourth, fourth to fifth, fifth to sixth, exam, clear and get marks.
Right.
There was no real curiosity in the child. Right? So what are the ways in which Montessori differs from traditional education, in how Montessori teaches? Like, how would you answer that question when the parent asks?
Okay, so Montessori, like I said, it basically says that, let the child be and follow the child has the capacity to follow the blueprint and you follow the child, right? That's what I said. Now, having said that, Montessori executes itself in 5-point, you can call it a syllabus or a curriculum. What they do is, first thing, they provide an environment. It's an environment-driven pedagogy. So there is no blackboards and whiteboards. So it is not teacher-driven. That the teacher does not have a structure when she comes into the classroom and says that I'm going to teach you ABC. Instead, she kind of develops an environment for the child where the child comes in and the child starts exploring. Now, all of a sudden, when the child starts exploring, you can see that the curiosity is already engaged of the child, right? That the child actually follows only their sensitivities and kind of is gravitated towards things that kind of excite or attract the child. So that's one thing. Second thing, what Montessori does very differently is that it is a multiple age group environment. So you don't have 4-year-olds in one class and 5-year-olds in another class and 6-year-olds in another third class. It is actually an age group of 3 years that works together. Now, this does a modeling of a mini community, right? It's like a society.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Right? Because all 4-year-olds are going through the same thing.
Yes.
But being with 5-year-old, 6-year-old, a 6-year-old can help a 4-year-old.
Exactly.
4-year-old will find it easier to learn from a 6-year-old than from an adult.
Exactly. And the thing is, there is a lot of compassion that gets built, a lot of empathy. Milestones are automatically set. You don't have to set the milestones for the children because, see, at your home also, when the child is born, the child really wants to only become you, right? So when in an environment where you have like 3, 4, and 5 and 6-year-olds together, a 3-year-old is only looking at a 4 and a 5 and a 6-year-old saying, I am going to become them, right? So education happens very naturally. There is no goal setting that is done for the child. There is no pressure on the child that is cultivated. The child just sees how the others are working, and automatically kind of.
So an environment is created where the child wants to work.
Exactly. Yes.
Does this always work?
This works in most cases. So we've seen it work. I mean, in our school, admissions for Montessori classrooms begin at 18 months. And we've seen that the children who come in that early and kind of develop that sense of independence to work in the environment and work by observation and doing things on their own, for them, this process becomes so
Easy.
natural. Yeah.
So do you think kids should be going to school at 18 months?
The answer to that question is yes and no. So, no, they don't have to go to a school. Personally speaking, till a parent or the adult or the caregiver is absolutely aware that a child is an individual and is only learning by pattern, then instead of creating patterns that make a child dependent on an adult, instead, if you were to create patterns that make a child independent and allow them independence to explore and have concrete impressions, you can do that at your home. You don't need a school at all. But if you are a working parent and you don't have the time for something like this, and you would be interested in raising a child who is independent, then I think you might as well choose to send the child to a school at 18 months, where you have the teachers of the school as your partners to work with you.
So, and when these young kids are brought to school, don't they cry?
They cry, absolutely. Why will they not cry? Yeah.
So I'm saying, the parent feels guilty about dropping them. The child is feeling something.
Right.
They are not like this. Still feel as part of the parent, but they're going physically away.
Right.
So, what happens then?
See, the child is going to always cry. The child cries for two reasons. One, of course, the child cries when they see strangers. Okay, so it is an anxiety of unknown. The second anxiety is anxiety of separation. So a child has been with you for long and the child is going to be separated, even if it means even for 5 minutes, the child is going to cry. Right? Now, having said that, that will even happen at 3 years. So are we saying we will not be sending children to school at 3 years? Right? Instead, if a child at 18 months gets into an environment which is very loving and safe, it is going to take them the same amount of time to overcome the anxiety, but they will build the right patterns and the right kind of independence to work on their own early on. If that is what is important for you, you shouldn't worry about this because they are just going to settle.
And in your experience, if 20 kids are dropped to school early, like 2 years of age, 2.5 years of age, how many cry?
Almost every child cries.
Almost every child cry.
Yes.
And then how does the transition happen? How will it take days, weeks, months?
So the good thing about Montessori, since we were talking about, how Montessori is different, since it is a multiple age group environment, right? An 18-month-old child is not coming into a classroom of only 18 months.
So it's not as if all 18 months old are together.
Yeah, that's not what it is. You already have a set of settled children in the classroom, right? So those children are actually a motivation for you. They are laughing, they are happy, they are working, they are on their own. And seeing them, it is easier for the children to settle down. So every 18-month-old who comes to Sweven Montessori actually cries. there are no exceptions to this that happen. But like I said, we don't take all admissions of 18-month-old at the same time. So it's not that the whole batch is crying, right? So it is a mixed batch. And when that child enters the classroom, there are two ways that things are dealt with. One, if the child is able to communicate or you are able to talk to them, you kind of tell them the plan. You tell them that you're here and this is the place where we're going to work in, and you show the classroom to the child, and then you tell the child that if you finish your work, we'll send you back home. And if the child understands that, then we send the children home even in 5 minutes. Or in 15 minutes, or in half an hour.
Because the child is building confidence that from here I will go back to my safe space.
Yes.
And over time feels the school is also a safe space.
And here it builds a trust that, what I was promised or committed to
has been done. ऐसा नहीं कि मुझे इतने समय रहना ही है. It is not like bell. Right. It's not training of a dog, but it is, I'm saying, essentially more willful.
It is more willful. And if you're not able to communicate this to the child, then we don't send the crying child back home. Because even that pattern of saying that if I cry and if I send you back home, then the child builds a pattern saying, I can cry and I can go home. Now, that pattern is not good to set for a child. In such scenarios, children can take from anywhere from 1 day of knowing and liking the environment and settling in there, and not really settling takes a longer time, but knowing and liking the environment, to may take up to a month.
A month.
But on an average, we've seen children settle in less than a week.
Less than a week. They're okay.
Yeah.
So now tell me, I'm saying essentially, you're again saying, so how does a Montessori classroom work? Children can come and do anything they want? Because that's what sounds like, right? It's
Yes.
like you are not, they're not periods or lecture where everybody is sitting in a line.
Right.
And then you're teaching them on the board.
Right.
That is not what is happening.
Right.
So how does a Montessori classroom work?
Okay, so Maria Montessori has a saying which says, freedom comes with discipline. Okay, so or if I say it the other way around, that the child is not the only being in their environment, right? The child is a being with a lot of other people around.
We are an individual in a society.
We are an individual in a society. So that sense is given to the child upfront. What that means is that while I respect you and respect your independence, you need to respect the independence and the environment that is shared by so many others. So while the child has the freedom to do everything they can or they like to do in the classroom, they are shown the decorum or the protocol of the classroom. What that means, it could be as simple as saying that you can take one thing, because all these things are being shared by everybody. You take one thing, work with it, and you put that thing back. You don't put all
That
the
is the
things
decorum.
down.
When you
That's
take
the
5
decorum.
things
Yeah.
and then leave them there, that is
Yes.
not the point. You take
Yeah.
one thing, finish it, put it back.
Put it
Or
back.
even if you don't finish it, you want to put it back, you put it back before you start something.
Exactly, because that way it doesn't get blocked, that way your friends can use it. And this also serves with the sense of Montessori, which says, or of any learning in that age group, is that learning is done in isolation. Now, if you create a clutter of things, you're anyway creating chaos in the child's mind. So it helps with even that, plus it helps with the decorum of the classroom. It kind of calls for respect of all the people who are sharing the same space with you. So most of the Montessoris have some kind of a protocol. One, of course, is this. There is some that have desks and you can bring material to the desk and work. Some have mats like this, as they're rolled up. It kind of, you can bring the mats. It's kind of your individual workstation. Bring your material here, work on it, finish it, put it back, and then again roll up the mat and put it back in its
This
place.
because I've seen it, I can actually. This is child learns very quickly.
Yes,
These are like the rules of the place.
Yes, and you don't even have to tell them what
They
you
see others and
yeah, they see it. The only thing that a directress in a Montessori classroom would do is that whatever rules that
The director is the principal.
directress is the person who actually is the adult in the classroom.
Okay.
Okay,
So the teacher is called a directress.
so yeah, there's no concept of a teacher.
Only
yeah,
directress.
yeah. So basically, Montessori says that, I mean, the child comes with their own blueprint. It's our only job is to direct the soul of the child. So hence, she never called that person a teacher.
We are not teaching. The child is learning by themselves. We are directing, helping,
Yeah.
creating the environment.
Yeah, so that's a directress. So a directress would guide the child towards, or nudges the child towards the, the protocols. Like, if a child would come to this classroom and they would start directly going to the shelf, a teacher would go to the child, bend down at the level of the child, kneel down on her knees, and would just tell the child, what, can I show you how to work with this material? Come, there's a mat that we need to get. Would you like to come with me? And then the child follows, or the teacher would actually just hold the hand of the child and guide the child to the right place. They would both go and bring the mat and they would roll it out, and then the teacher would guide the child to bring the material to the mat. And this would happen for at least a week to a month, depending on the child, to just constantly show them how things are done.
And so I remember you telling me that after COVID, when children came, it was difficult to work with children.
Yes.
Right? So what do you think had happened then? And yeah.
Of course, the order had changed, right? I mean, it was absolutely an okay order for good 2 years to say the classes were happening online, right? There was, of course, screen, and there was through the screen the conversation was happening. That was one thing. The other thing is we've realized that the parents who were well educated or well aware of Montessori and understood what it meant to keep those protocols going with the child, because this is an independence protocol, right? It's saying that this is my workstation, I own this workstation, I'm responsible for it, I'm going to create it and I'm going to wind it up, right? That's a complete responsibility the child owns. These small things got
Lost.
Yeah.
So then the children came to the classroom and didn't want to work. Because I've heard this a lot from you.
Yes.
The children don't want to work. Right? And I'm saying in a traditional school, you will be put in a line and you will be taught.
Yes.
And then you will go from one class to another.
Even in the traditional school, I think the feedback was very simple with saying that the children were not able to focus to be able to learn from the blackboards and the whiteboards. Okay, first thing. So because the medium had completely changed for them, and also the social need was big. So when they came from the pandemic for 2 years, they were all isolated. I think they met each other in safe havens, but it was not like such a big social engagement that happened after pandemic. So I think that was the big need at that point in time.
To engage. To meet, physically meet, socially meet.
Yes.
So what did you do? You let that meet happen?
Oh yeah, we had to. I mean, we realized that if we didn't do this, we would create stress not only for ourselves and for them, but even for ourselves, because we were going against the will of the child. So we had to educate the parents to say, let's just allow this year to pass, while we'll be continuously reminding them and nudging them towards, moving towards normalization in the classroom. But let's just allow them to build their will slowly, steadily, while they also satisfy their
needs.
needs.
Passed now?
It's gotten, there is a huge balance now. Yeah.
So many children are working, some are still getting there, and this is how the classroom is.
Yes.
Right? You use a very interesting term, normalization. What does normalization mean?
Normalization in Montessori means a lot of things. But if I were to tell you in a one single sentence, it means that I have love for work.
I have love for work. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm focused and concentrated, and I'm going to finish what I have taken.
Why? Do you know what is the origin of this term work?
I think there is a lot of misgivings about this term work, because lately I've been trying to read Maria Montessori's books written by her, original text, and she uses play a lot. I think work got introduced later. I think I have to come across work in her writings, but I think this was introduced later in the Montessori casas by, I'm not sure it was done by Montessori by herself, but
it's not become part of Montessori.
But it has become part.
But essentially, I think when I first heard it, the idea is there is no segregation between work and play. It's all the same. I enjoy my work. What does it mean? I play.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yes. It is more so that work is play and play is work. Yeah.
So because we're talking of traditional and Montessori, so can you show us how something is done differently in the Montessori classroom than a traditional school?
I think everything in a Montessori classroom is different, right? You don't have blackboards, the very first thing we said, or whiteboards, or even smartphones. Smart boards, nothing like that is here. The child learns by exploring material all the time. All introductions.
Material like this. This is all material.
Yes, all this is material.
Right?
Yes.
So the child can come, take a mat, take this out, put it on the mat, and explore themselves. A directress can come and say, can I show you how to use this material? Right. Or the child can learn from seeing somebody else use it. And then when they're done, they can put it back.
Yes.
Okay.
And so interestingly, as simple as an example, right? So this is a mat that you can use. You can use a chalky as well, so there are these small tables. And the sense of saying that, I'm going to do some writing work or with some pencils, then I can't be using a mat and I need to get a hard surface, and it has to be that small table. As simple as those small decision makings are done by the children. They make those calls. They try to solve the problems for themselves, in the senses that There is only material one of a kind in the classroom, which is shared by a set of 30, you say. So if that material is getting blocked or used by somebody, you need to either learn to wait, or you figure out that if it's going to take longer and you don't want to wait, then you go around and look for some alternative and go work. And that's the reason we say Montessori children actually are problem solvers by nature, because the environment kind of supports that kind of learning with them. Having said that, almost everything, the way it is taught since it's with material, it's different from traditional school. One thing that I like a lot about Montessori is math. Because I have been teaching math all the way till 12th grade, and I see children are scared of math. And they just can't make sense of it. Most of the time they are kind of rote learning it, trying to memorize the methods, and then trying to deal with numbers, and it's really scary. And Montessori deals with math in a very sensorial way, and I feel that children who...
So sensorial means in the physical way.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it means. Right?
Basically,
it's not concepts in the head.
No, it's basically everything that you learn. Is the senses are your gateway to everything that you see, that you learn in this world, right? So you would see things and learn, you would actually feel them and know about their textures and qualities, you would hear and kind of comprehend them. So everything, basically senses are your gateway to learning, or your impressions, right? So when you touch and feel something and try to kind of correlate it to concepts, it kind of creates concrete impressions, which can be abstracted out later. So math is done in that concrete format initially.
So this is the maths. What will you call this?
This is called an introduction tray for golden bead material.
Okay.
It's called golden bead because, of course, the bead is golden in color, right? But this is introduction to the decimal system, right? So this is a unit bead.
Okay.
This is a bar of 10. It's a square of 100.
Okay.
And that's a cube of 1000. Okay. If you notice, the bead is constant across, right? So it's very easy for a child to create a concrete impression of saying that this is the same unit bead that actually is composed in each one of them. Okay. That's the first impression. Second, if you notice, the sense of a bead as opposed to a 10 that is made out of 10 such beads is different in size, also maybe in weight, right? 100 is heavier, bigger, because it has 100 beads in there. Yeah. 1000. Now, as an adult, you can see a lot of other impressions that are formed. Like even if you had to take it to geometry, you would see that as a point, this would become a line, that would become a plane, and that would become space. Right there, right? So it gives a lot of other concrete impressions.
It becomes real, as opposed to a number on the board. Right? This is 1 and this is 2. Yes. Like for example, I can see that 10 is 10 ones.
Yes, 10 ones.
Right? Not 10 is a number.
No.
10 is 10 ones.
Right. So in a Montessori classroom, actually numbers are taught after quantities. And until the children are not comfortable with the quantities, numbers are not even introduced to them. Whereas in a traditional school, it is exactly opposite. Every child that we see from a traditional school comes over here and starts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. But they have no sense of what that really means.
What does it really mean? What are time? I can count till 100 means nothing. It has no real meaning. That is a child and a parent who actually might think, oh, my child knows math, but they don't know it.
Yeah, math.
With a high chance. Yeah. Because it's not math, it's actually English in some ways.
Right, it is, yeah. And then we are trying to manipulate those numbers without having visualization at all. Now imagine if a child has visualization like this, then the exchanges become very easy. You know that when you have 10 of these units, actually you kind of exchange it into a bar of 10. Right? And if you have 10 bars of these 10s, you are going to get that as 100. So all those, the concept that we call as carryover, or what is actually truly exchanges, right? Because you're exchanging this unit into the other unit, and that visualization becomes very easy for the child. And when the visualization is clear, math is simple.
Interesting. And so another concept about Montessori, which I find very exciting, and if you can help explain for parents. One of the things that Geeta happens is when you become a parent, you're also a new parent. Right? So you learn on the go in some ways. But after reading some of Montessori, after talking to you, after talking to other parents of older children, you realize that babies have been born since so many years. There have been so many observations about them. And all kids grow up in a certain manner. Now, individuality is different. But the first 6 years is in a certain way. The next 6 is in a certain way. And after that is in a certain way.
Right.
Correct? I think Montessori talks about planes of development.
Planes of development, yes.
So, can you tell us what these planes of development are, and briefly that, what happens to the child? What is the need of the child in each plane of development?
Right. So Montessori has 4 planes of development, where and each plane she is kind of classified as a set of 6 years. All right. So she has it all the way defined till 24 years.
Okay.
0 to 6, which we call the absorbent mind in Montessori, and it is the plane of development where the need of the child is to fulfill their physical and biological needs.
Okay.
So this we say this is the age where the child builds themselves. Okay, so of course they need to understand when they're hungry, when they want to eat, when they want to use the washroom. Basically, they understand their bodily biological needs, and they also want to do everything on their own. Right?
Between 0 to 6.
0 to 6.
This is so, how do I say it? So counterintuitive for a parent.
Right.
मेरा बच्चा छोटा है, I will do everything for my child, versus the need of the child in 0 to 6 is, I want to do everything myself.
Just help me.
I'm saying even if this every parent could know, it will change everything.
Everything. Yes.
Right?
So the 0 to 6 is that. And that's the beauty of it. And actually we see children doing everything. We see them cutting salad, we see them kneading atta, we see them walking up the stairs on their own. A lot of parents ask us, you give them a knife at 3.5, and we are like, are they able to manage scissors? And yes, they are able to manage. See, the idea over here is the child in this age actually learns by pattern the most. This is the intense learning age. I mean, if you were to plot a graph, this would be the steepest in your life that you would have.
You learn to walk, you learn to talk,
everything. I mean, and this is the age where the child is actually observing the adult and the environment so closely that absorbs everything from the environment. So it is up to you. So if you were to actually break down every action into a format that the child can observe clearly and follow through, they are going to do exactly everything the way you do it. So if you can cut salad, they can cut salad too.
So my understanding of this first gen development from another perspective is the child is born, and what the child or the brain wants to do is feel safe. And the understanding that is they want to be involved in life. They want to do the same things that are happening around them that others are doing.
Yes.
Right? And by doing this, their brain gets formed.
Yes.
So this is 0 to 6. The first, and then what happens after that?
So, and then comes 6 to 12, which is called the intellectual plane. Basically, here is the plane where the moral compass of the child is built. The child learns cause and effect. The child is actually now goes from, abstracting out everything that they learned in 0 to 6, and kind of, you can say that they organize the world in constructs of knowledge.
So can you explain that? You said moral compass.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So basically, they learn things.
Right and wrong.
Rights and wrongs. Yes. This is where they learn to the extent. So when in 0 to 6, they were basically following you, right? What you did, what you said was right, they would do it. Now this is the age where we see a lot of children who actually even all the things that they have been doing in the past, even 0 to 6, they start disputing it. I mean, because now they're bodily active, they actually can do things better than they were able to do before. They haven't seen the world as you have seen it. So you kind of come across as a big liar to them when you're saying that, if you are going to do this, right, you're going to probably, let's say that you were walking up on a hill, right? And if you told a child that, if you walk on the cliff, you're going to fall. And this is an exaggeration. Just because the child hasn't experienced that, the child is going to completely refute you and say, I don't trust you, and I is going to walk up on the cliff and only learn when they fall. That's how it is for them at this age. So, the cliff example is...
So for example, I was driving in my car. There were 2-3 girls. My daughter was there, who's 8, another girl was 9. And, I was driving a little fast, and the girl said, and the 9-year-old said, Happy uncle, you can't drive this fast. I saw a sign that said 30 kilometers per hour, you're driving at 50.
Yes.
This is not okay.
Right.
Is this age?
This is also this age, because now they can read. And rules mean to them.
They don't only have to rely on their parents' guidance.
Exactly.
Oh.
So they can apply themselves. They can apply all the skills that they've built so far to be able to make their own sense of the word. That is what is this age.
So tell me a little bit more about this age. I'm seeing again, I'm going back, 6 to 12. 0 to 6, they picked up automatically from the world and they wanted to be independent, they want to do things themselves. 6 to 12, they still want to continue doing things themselves, but they now want to reason with you.
Yeah, they want to reason with you all the time.
Right? They want to ask, why should I do this?
Yes.
Right? Or is this okay or not okay?
Yeah. Okay or not okay comes to them about after they do it and they learn it. So they are not ready, they're not willing to take ready-made answers.
So it's okay between 6 to 12 to try and fail a lot. Let the child try and fail a lot.
Absolutely, you should. This is the biggest error that we make as adults, and this is where I want to call out is, I don't know, somehow, schools were meant to be mini societies. And when we say mini societies, it means that they should have opportunity or should create scenarios, and there should be scenarios where children should fail as individuals. And if they don't fail here, then how do they learn what not to do? So yes, this is the age that you allow as many scenarios as possible. Don't try to stop them. You can absolutely give them guidance. You can tell them, no, if you are going to do this, I believe the outcome may be like this. But if they refuse to listen to you and want to explore and experience this, please let them do it. So a good example I would tell you in our school that, a lot of adults tell us that certain things should be no tolerance. Okay. And a lot of schools follow a no tolerance policy and a lot of things. In our school, we don't have a uniform. We personally believe that it is absolutely okay that the child should wear what they desire to wear and come. Of course, there is something called a decorum of what you wear to school and come, but at the same time, it's a very bare bone decorum till you are, till you're comfortably sitting in the classroom and working, it should be good enough. Now, here, there's a lot of parents who tell us that, you allow for children to be wearing shorts in the school, you allow for children to be wearing skirts and Yeah, bigger but they are more distracted. But then if they are not going to be distracted now, or if they are not going to do what they're doing now, how do they know that they were being distracted by doing this? Why are we preempting them so early? Plus, it may be that they may not be distracted because something like this. It's just their individuality and they want to make a statement about it. And what is wrong with that? Kind of thing.
I think a parent feels if my child is wearing a short skirt now, or a short or a crop top or whatever, then maybe she'll continue to wear it for life.
No, that's not the point. They just feel that they're more worried about how they're looking, and they're more worried, spending a lot of time thinking about how to dress up and look good and not worry about studying. But the whole point is that how do you know that if they did not do this, they would still be studying? First thing.
Oh, you're saying if you dress up children nicely and get them to sit on a seat, because you see them on a desk in a school dress, does it mean they are studying and learning?
Right. And who knows that they are just, they're still mentally engaged into their thoughts of saying, I wish I was doing this and not this, kind of. So, we personally believe, let the child do or where what
Follow
they
their
want
way.
to follow their will. And if the outcome is not going to be desired, then they are going to learn that the outcome that did not come out to be desired could be because of reason 1, 2, 3, 4. And let me try to fix these reasons and the desire that the outcome that I want to get. Now, this is something that is saying help develop the cause and effect, and that's how the moral compass
6
gets
and 12 is a lot about cause and effect.
Oh, that's a lot about cause and effect.
Lot about, okay, then what happens in 12 to 18?
12 to 18 is, they say, it is the adolescence. It's like a new birth of the child. It's a new identity. Like you got the identity at birth, you were just born, and now it's a new identity after all your hormonal changes that are into play, and all of a sudden you are looking for social independence.
Social. So somebody said to me in 0 to 6, the child starts at the age of 6, the child physically actually knows they're separated from you.
Yes.
Between 6 to 12, there is this transition, and at 12, they are mentally also separate from you.
Yeah.
Now they know I am my own being.
Being.
I want my friend, this. Like the parent both from body and mind
Right.
have become. Is that what it
Yes.
is? So what does this? So what should a parent do in this age? What is important?
Provide a lot of support. I mean,
to listen to the child.
Listen to the child. A lot of it. Plus, also at the same time, give them lot of valuable ways in which they can contribute to the society, and that way they build the sense of their entity as being valuable and making sense to the world, because these are their foundation stones going towards understanding what is also economic independence. It starts right here. Social and economic independence both starts right here for them. Like they believe that they can earn on their own, and that's where, and they are also now socially not attached anymore to they have their own ideas about their friends, their family. They come back to you and say, oh, I don't want to go to this party anymore because I don't believe I belong here. I mean, all of those calls start happening, and they want to experiment. They want to try things that their friends are trying. They want to also fit into their group of peers a lot. So here is what is going to be very beneficial to a parent is what they did in 0
0 to 12. अगर वो ठीक से किया है, then this can be smoother.
Yeah, this is why, because see, this is where the trust of your relationship is going to be like play. If you
It's going to be tested.
It is going to be tested. If you didn't invest that time to build the trust with your child, and the child is going to constantly feel that this person is not the person that I can go back to when I'm in trouble, then these years get really tough for these children. Because, like I said, the world is opened up to them. They have everything at their fingertips. I mean, they have more to their fingertips than even an adult has. I mean, you can't even imagine what kind of access they have. Like I said, it's a stage of hormones where we are trying and experimenting everything. We kind of feel energized and capable of
doing anything.
Yes, and at this age, there's going to be a lot of failures also. There's also going to be, you're going to fall a lot of times. And during these falls is when you want that your child knows who to go back to.
That somebody has my back. So you have to be there to listen to them, to have their back.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That seems critical. And if you've spent time with the child in 0 to 12,
Yes.
it's going to be useful. And the reason I feel with this is because I see a lot of fathers. And fathers more than mothers, who feel, oh, this is a small child. I will start bonding when the child is a little bit bigger. Okay, I will go to watch games with them. I will do a lot more things with the child when the child is bigger.
Right.
But when the child becomes bigger, it is already too late. I'm saying it can always form, but it is harder.
It is. So then let's go back. So, I mean, there is nothing wrong in saying that I want to kickstart and spend more time at the age of 12. Okay. I want to basically.
You should start whenever you,
Yeah.
whenever this comes to you.
Comes to you. That's not the point. The point only over here is that when we say that you should have a trust relationship with the child. So I'll give you a very simple example where I say that, let's say a child wanted to climb up a steps, right? Was willing to at the age of 18 months and felt that the child is capable of it. But you kind of lifted the child up and put them in your arms and you don't let the child, and you basically you're communicating to the child saying that the child is not able to do it.
You are not capable.
You're not capable. So you kind of laid that first seed of, distrust right there, saying that, as a parent, you trust the abilities of the child. Next time when the child wants to do things on their own, they probably may not come looking for you, or they might not come.
And do it themselves, try, yeah, mana kar denge,
kind of a thing, right? It's a very, very simple example. I mean, it's, I think a lot of you, you will be laughing at me saying, oh, at 18 months, what is this trust relationship? But you have no idea. The patterns are set right there. Right? Let's say...
I'm coming to this because it's happened. And I came, Dia's birthday was there, and I came to the school, and I had come to this upper floor, and after a while you came and you asked me, right, that did you kiss that 3-year-old while walking up?
Yeah.
And I knew what you were saying because, and I said to you, I did that 12 months ago.
Yes.
So what had happened was that my friend's daughter who was in your school, 12 months ago she had come to a party.
Right.
And I saw her for, I think, the first or the second time, and I gave her a kiss on the cheek. Right? And she remembers that now, even 12 months later.
Yes.
She sees me.
Yes.
And then goes to the teacher to say to you that please tell Happy Uncle not to kiss me.
Yes.
This is the kind of deep impact.
Yeah, that is the kind of deep impact.
So I can imagine the story that you are saying.
Yes.
That the child will remember. Not in the manner we feel, but the child remembers. It is a bodily imprint.
Right. So every time that you're telling the child, don't do this. No, don't do it. When you're saying that no, please just stop yourself and just ask the child, how would you like to do this?
Replace no with a how question.
Yes.
How would you like to do it? What is your plan?
Yes. What's your plan?
Right? And even young kids can understand this and do something about it.
Yes.
So,
and you can follow it up by saying that I believe you can do it. If you need my help, I'm standing right here. That's it. And that is going to change everything in their life.
Don't pass on your fears to your child.
Never.
Right? Step back. I was saying somewhere earlier today that children are born with only 2 fears, right? Fear of falling and fear of loud noises. All other fears are input into the child from the environment. And so, when a child is born, actually we have someone in the house who's unafraid. There's so much to learn from that child. And maybe one of the things is to not say no to the child and to ourselves and to try and do something.
Yes.
And what about the last plane?
Yeah. So the last plane is basically the spiritual and the moral independence.
Okay.
So all the work that the child has done in all those years where they've kind of built the moral compass, they have kind of built the social independence, they are physically independent, they're able to do, now is the time where they are going to apply themselves in the world. They know that this is the entity and they are going to be able to, their action is going to matter. Now, when their action is going to matter, they are only going to work with 2 things. One, they are going to work with their moral compass that they built, and they're going to kind of only work with that cause and effect in their mind. Other thing, they are also going to work with knowing how it is going to give them happiness, how it is going to make them a person, a little. It's going to make them a bigger and a happier and a larger person than they are today. So it gets into that spiritual independence.
What should a parent keep in mind while choosing a school for yourself?
This is actually little work that the parent has to do. Okay, so when you are choosing the school, you cannot choose a school based on only the school. What that means is you really need to be very, very clear as to what do you really want for your child and what the way we simply guide all our parents in this school is saying, sit down, spend some time, list out all the qualities that you think that your child needs to develop when they are going to be, or needs to develop to be able to cope with everything when they are 18 or 25, whatever is your benchmark for your child. What that means is that they're going to be in the real world. Now, please jot those points down, refine them over and over again, come to a set of good 5 to 6 points, that these are the no compromising, highly critical,
The values.
well, qualities that the child
Whatever,
should have.
yes.
I mean, it can be values, it can be qualities, whatever is good for you, that you believe that these are the things that really matter the most. Please note them down. And keeping those values or those qualities in front of you, decide what are the qualities that you expect in the school to fulfill those qualities for your child. It could be that you want your child to be physically strong, then probably you need a sports ground. Or if not a sports ground, are you going to alternatively fulfill it somewhere else? Decide that. I mean, weigh the options out that as to, where this quality can be really truly fulfilled, kind of. So what I'm trying to say over here is that your view of the school can only come from your personal view of what you're needing for the child. I mean, I think we miss this over here and we completely go out over there to the schools to only check out the playgrounds or what the principal is saying, or which is all very important. But that is going to only become important once you have the interface.
Once you know
clear.
what you want.
Yeah, the interface has to be very, very clear as to what do you want. And if you don't have that clear, then it stays vague, and then you start kind of wondering after a year or two whether you did the right thing. And then it becomes, oh, schools to aise hi hote. I'm sorry, school aise nahi hote. There are schools are doing a lot of good job. They're doing wonderful work out over there. So please figure out what is important to you. Once you figure it out, then go please meet the head of the school. Understand what is their philosophy. What do they think of a child? And what are those 5 to 6 qualities that are important to the school that they want to develop in the child?
And is there any overlap?
And if there is an overlap, you're extremely lucky, because then you kind of know that at least you're aligned in the thought process. And once you're aligned in the thought process, try to figure out what is
Can you list some of these qualities? Because I'm saying, like, if you ask me, I would say I would like, when my child grows up, I would like my child to be happy, I would like my child to be curious, I would like my child to be confident. Let's see, what are the qualities that you're talking about? Because, the reason I'm saying this is sometimes this can become very, like, I would like my child to write well. Or like my child know maths. So, but what are the qualities you're talking about? Can you give some examples?
See, from my perspective, I mean, this I'll make it only personal here. The 5 qualities that we really think are very, very important in a child to develop to be able to, do what they want to do in this world is, one thing that is very important is perseverance. In the face of failure, in the face of a fall, they need to rise up and just keep on doing it.
Give another try.
Yeah, give it a try. It's very important. Initiative taking is an extremely important quality in a child. That is because it's only you and you alone who is responsible for your life. I mean, and if you cannot do the initiate, you cannot initiate for your own self, I don't think anybody else is going to come looking for you to help you out. So we personally believe that initiative taking is very important in a child, and they should be, and they can be given scenarios since childhood to be able to develop this quality. Third, of course, curiosity. I personally believe that we kill this on day 0 of
every
the child.
child has it.
Immediately, every child has it, and we kill it on day 0. We start doing it. I don't say we kill it 100%, but the process begins right there. But I think curiosity is one thing that the child should continue to develop and evolve. Fourth is creativity. Now, creativity is extremely important in terms of, it's more like, taking everything that you know and be able to put or simulate it together to be able to solve anything at your hand, right? I mean, that is creativity in our mind. So we believe that creativity is very important, and the children should be given many opportunities to problem solve, think critically, apply themselves, develop their sense of agency. That's the fourth. the very fifth, the last one for us is interdependence and adaptability. You are not alone in this world.
That I think is very important
Yeah.
for a child at some point to understand, right?
Yes.
That we can't always have our way.
Yeah, you are not alone. I mean, and we all are.
We are
cohesive.
independent.
Yeah.
My action have an impact and their action have an impact.
Absolutely. We are all a cohesive society, and we are actually a cohesive universe. I don't think it restricts ourselves to only humankind. I mean, every living being, even non-living things, get impacted with our actions. So we really need to understand this, and we need to be realizing this.
So as a parent, you should spend some time to list down what values you want, understand what values the school, imbibes, wants to do, and see overlap, see what can be done at school, what can be done at home. Go meet a lot of schools, a lot of principals, meet the teacher, and then figure out what is right.
Yeah.
There is no easy shortcut.
There is no easy shortcut.
And one shouldn't adopt. This is an important decision.
Yes.
Okay. What do you parents write and parents worry a lot about homework. What do you think about that? मेरा बच्चा पढ़ नहीं रहा है, मैं बैठी हूँ, वो लिख नहीं रहा है, वो लिख सकता है, उसको आता सब कुछ है, लेकिन वो एक काम नहीं करना चाहता, उसका मन नहीं लगता पढ़ाई में, उसको खेलना ही है हमेशा.
Any learning in this world, okay, requires practice. Right? Without practice, there is no learning. I mean, you can say as much as that I know it, but you're going to get cold feet as soon as you're going to put in the right situation because your hands really haven't worked and figured out how to go about things, right? So practice is important. So whether that homework is calling out for the practice, there is nothing wrong with it. I think the word homework should not be looked down upon in my mind, okay? But to say that homework is to be able to kind of replicate something over and over again and just to copy things without mindlessly, I mean, then I think we are wasting a lot of time over there in my head. I mean, you shouldn't need to do that.
So homework has to be interesting.
The word interesting is...
Does it promote curiosity?
So homework has to be basically, should be an extension of your learning is what I believe, right? So it should be that, let's say that you kind of got introduced to something new today, and that homework should be basically be able to apply what you learned and to, get multi-dimensional thinking based on that learning and see how it...
But if a 4-year-old is going home and writing 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, is that okay?
We don't do it at the school, so I don't know why you would need at the age of 4 to be focusing so much on writing. I mean, trust me, children... Instead, if you were to focus more on probably kneading dough or cutting salad, and
you will get stronger hands.
You will have stronger hands, and you will have stronger feet, and you will have resilient body and mind, and you will be ready to write.
You'll have fun by doing it while becoming ready to write.
Yeah.
But I think in India, so many schools focus on this. Right? I have so many parents writing to me saying, my child doesn't want to write. Then I ask, how old is the child? The child is 4 years old, and he's not writing.
So, okay, let's look at it in this way. Let's say that you were asked to do a task that you were not keen on doing, and you were just asked to kind of do it because somebody else believed that it is important for you without you really having the sense or the moral compass of understanding it is important, right? Because at the age of 4, the child doesn't see the point of me learning numbers. How is it going to really help me in life, right? I mean, they don't see it. But they do see the point of saying, oh, I'm going to be able to cut the salad and eat the cucumber. It is absolutely going to fill my stomach. And that is purposeful for them, right? Kind of, it's as simple as that. Now, you are making a choice of work that the child doesn't see purpose for. And you're going to force the children to be able to do it. Some children would just do it because they want to keep you happy, because that's also an outcome that a child wants, right? Because
they're dependent on you.
Not just dependent on you, they just like to. It puts a smile on their face when they see you happy as well, right? So it's not about dependence; it's just about that relationship there, right? But imagine the impression that you've created in the child. The memory of which is going to transcend in later ages and is going to just see education or the process of learning as very dry, not purposeful. And how does that benefit the child? inside. Go ahead, kick the ball.
So the idea is that when you're forcing a child to study, a young child to study or write against their wish, there is a certain memory.
So, without purpose.
Without purpose, right? Which they don't feel. Then I'm saying there's a certain memory you are imprinting on them, which they will remember. It's something like, getting a child to drink milk even if they don't want to. Then some adults, even when they're adults, by the name of milk, they get this feeling which they can't describe.
Yes.
Just because they were forced to drink milk earlier. And we don't want the child to have that feeling associated with learning.
Exactly.
Right? That is the thing to avoid.
Yes. And having said that, that doesn't mean that there are children who don't want to write. So just leave the notebooks on the shelf.
If they write,
if they write, they want to write, they pick it up and write.
Or if you can make it more fun or more joy to write, that is also okay. Is it?
We don't believe that we need to entice a child.
You don't need to entice a child?
No, you don't need to entice a child like that, because then you'll be only constantly enticing all their life.
It has to be what do you call inner desire,
inner will,
a sense of agency that the child should have to work. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things, Geeta, you have mentioned to me time and again is that it is only by the age of 12 that a child will know what they really want to know.
Yes.
What does that mean? Because, for many parents, it starts early. When they start thinking, what is my child interested in? Every time a child picks up a racket, you think maybe a बहुत बड़ा tennis player बनेगा. The child is doing maths very well, you think he's a scientist बनेगा. So, and all these thoughts come into a parent's head, and a lot of parents now want the child to pick up something early and become an expert in it. But you have mentioned time and again that it's only after the age of 12 that sense comes, what do I really want to do?
Right. So if you really look at the 4 planes of development also of Maria Montessori, the very first is the physical plane, physical development or the physical independence and biological independence. The second is the intellectual independence. The third is the social independence and the economic independence starts creeping in. And the fourth is the moral and the spiritual independence. Now, truly speaking, अगर इन 4 प्लेन्स को ही देख लें तो सेंस कि मैं क्या करूंगा वो तो आएगा ही स्पिरिचुअल इंडिपेंडेंस से ना
24 के बाद
आएगा. ओके राइट, वो खुद से आएगा. Or there may be a need for independence that will come from an economic independence or a social independence, right? Because you want to have your own standing in the society, right? So that sense of how I'm going to get that social independence or economic independence is the first stage of what you're saying, what I want to do. Right? Now, before that, it was only preparation for that. Now, that doesn't mean that the children should not be exposed. They should be exposed to whatever they want to do. Your child picks up a racket and you want to expose the child to tennis, brilliant. But don't have an expectation that the child is
going to become a great tennis player.
Yeah, and don't start pushing it, because as soon as you start pushing it, then the child takes a few steps backwards because the child is feeling pressure and probably is not ready for that kind of mental and physical stress that you are creating, right? So while, I always say that there is no compartments in child's life. So, right, discipline to work or discipline to become a tennis player is not going to come from only discipline of hitting a racket or going to that class consistently. It will come from doing everything else with discipline. Being completely mindful of your action, what you do and what is its outcome, to be able to analyze that and have the sense of agency to work is going to kind of lead into that direction regardless. So the day your child wants to become a guitar player or wants to, perform solo on the stage, the child's, that prep work that you have done, where the child is independent in thinking, can analyze their own,
has the perseverance to pursue it,
and is able to take initiatives.
So, actually, if you are, the way I framed the question actually is incorrect. That at the age of 12, the child will know what to do doesn't make any sense at all. Because now when I reflect back, I look at my own journey, right? I'm saying, क्या करना है? Because everybody else was doing IIT, तो IIT करना है. Okay, उसके बाद क्या करना है? Everybody else wants to get a job, तो job करना है. उसके बाद क्या करना है? Let me open a company. It was the first time I remember having this independent thought, right? And now, okay, I can think a little bit, and I want to do my own company. But even then, I ran that for 12 years. I have left that company. I have lazed around for 3-4 years, running, mountaineering, etc., etc. And now I'm researching parenting. If you told me 10 years ago I would be researching parenting, I would have said, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
Like somebody would have told you you would run a school, you would say, what are you talking about? I will never run a school.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that we didn't have a will or desire to do something else, right? We
Yes.
had. So, and this need is going to constantly keep changing, right? I mean, having said that, I will even say that I have children in the school who are not 12-year-olds, but because sometimes they know how to, make jewelry out of, let's say, paper mache or something, they come and tell me, oh, I want to open a stall of jewelry and I want to sell it, right? But
Great.
yeah, does that mean that is what is all that the child wants to know? The answer is probably no. The child is just every moment trying to take an action to only meet their intellectual independence, social independence, and economic independence in a way, along with physical
And we can
independence.
support it.
And we just keep supporting it. And
rather than having an expectation of when will my child choose what to do? When will she be clear or he be clear about what the child wants to do?
So if your child wants to kick ball right now, let's go ahead kick ball.
You run a school. Every day, I'm sure there are a lot of things that happen. So can you share some incidents which have surprised you in school? Which have made you laugh, which have made you a far more belief in that we should follow the child in Montessori, in everything. What are some of the incidents come to your mind about children?
I was amazed today itself, actually. It was a child who was an 18-month-old in the school, and I was presenting a material to the child, and the material was very simple. It had concentric cylinders, and it was interesting that the cylinders were a wooden cylinder, an outer wooden cylinder, colored cylinders inside. There were three of them, and the sizes were different. And I kept telling myself, I was thinking that, I wanted to observe how quickly a child can figure this out. I mean, I do work with children across the age, but every time I present something like this, I want to always tell myself, let me see how quickly a child can figure a pattern. And consistent, where at the age of 18 months, we say that the kid is small and I have to teach. All that I had to do was I just presented the material once and I left it. And I was surprised, within 2 iterations, the child was not even experimenting, exactly knew which cylinder goes into which one. And this is an 18-month-old. And it is shocking that how quickly a child can grasp or learn something. So, and this was without telling the child any of the color names or pointing where to put, nothing like that. The material was just laid out in front of the child and the child was working. It surprises me. The other thing is we have a Montessori classroom and we actually carry these mats to work on, chalkies, and I can probably show you a chalkie. And you'll be surprised that I have 18-month-olds who actually carry that chalkie independently and walk in the classroom. And we would say, oh, this is such a small child. How can they even be doing something like this? And that's the physical independence that we're looking at. That surprises me. And then as you grow older, I mean, I get surprised by how they can extrapolate or how they can actually learn. So we have these, we do events in our school where we kind of try to bring a lot of entrepreneurship or, the real life into the classroom. And we have these carnivals. And though they're supported by the parents on the stalls, but I am shocked at how they can handle everything on their own. I mean, they basically, if you had a chat papdi stall, then sab kuch from end to end a child can execute, and we are looking at a child who is a 4-year-old. And most of us would say that how is this going to be possible? But that kid doesn't really need your help. Math is an area that I always say has amazed me. I mean, and I personally believe that we do a lot of injustice to math. I mean, with the way it is taught, it is unfair that the children should really be worried about the subject. And I ran into a kid and it just shocked me that how a child could extrapolate with numbers. I mean, This was a very interesting example. He had a question and he was never introduced to multiplication and division of fractions, though he knew other operations on the numbers, the whole numbers. And this kid was asked, and he was said that if you have 3 3/4 of a spoon of coffee, and if you had 10 cups, how much would each cup get? And I was thinking he will actually come and tell me that I don't understand division of fractions. You haven't taught me, and why don't you teach me this and learn? And instead, that kid actually simplified the numbers. He actually turned the 3 3/4 into 15/4, just like that. And he said, oh, I have 15/4 and I'm going to give a 4 to each cup. He split them up and he was left with 5/4. And because the way fractions are taught in a Montessori, it is very, they are taught as pieces and how you can manipulate pieces. He took those 5/4 and changed it into 20s. He converted into smaller pieces. And he had 25 20s with him. And he said, oh, I can put 2 20s in each cup. And he's then left with 5 20s, and he was able to tell himself, I need to break this up further into smaller pieces. And he changed that into 10 40s and was able to put 1/40 in each cup. And he had drawn these and he started to write.
How old is this child?
And this child was 9-year-old.
9-year-old. Doing this himself, herself.
Himself, yeah, herself. And it was really surprising for me that how could child just have that basic fundamental knowledge of what is division and understand that fractions like your decimal systems can be exchanged, like tens can be exchanged into smaller pieces of units. He was able to just take a larger piece of fraction and exchange it into smaller pieces of fraction.
Tell me, Geeta, that I'm saying one of the benefits that at least we have had, my wife Bhakti and I have had, is actually not on, and I have a question on mathematics, I'll come to it. I'm saying it's not on curriculum. It has been on the behavioral side of the child. Right?
Yeah.
But I think most parents forget about it.
Oh, they forget, yes.
Right? And most schools also forget about it, is it?
Right. I don't know. I will not comment about schools because...
But as a parent in the first 6-10 years of your life, I feel one should choose a school where this behavioral aspect
is very important. And that brings to me another example. We are an inclusive school actually. We have children with all abilities and disabilities in here. We don't have a big ratio, but we do have. And one of the parents had a very big concern that the child that they had, that will she have friends? Because the big question was that I don't want my child to be sympathized with. I would want her to make friends. And our condition is very unique. And the way Montessori works, right? And the way, because you have multiple age group and, you are like you have freedom to work. You don't find synergy of only knowing academically where you align, but also it gives you a lot of opportunities to know that in how many different places that you could align emotionally, socially, even physically while working with something that, children could have strengths other than just knowing math and language kind of a thing. And it is so beautiful that that kid is supposed to move and that kid is crying, saying that I'm going to miss my friends. I have so many friends here and I don't know whether the new place that I'll go, whether I'll make this same number of friends again, kind of a thing. So, because Montessori gives you a holistic view of development, it just doesn't restrict to, EPL exercises are practical life tutorial. They are all integral part of Montessori and they give you so much more touch points with each other. And they just don't judge you on your excellence only in academics, that you start knowing that, you could have similarities with people in areas other than just, that are judged by the world. And you start forming the right friendships and the right relationships there.
If you were given a chance to be a parent again, go back in life, what would you change?
I would have gotten more involved with my child when she was younger. That is all.
Even before 7?
Even before 7. So it's not that I didn't make time for her, but I actually made time for her thinking that I just have to have fun, but I didn't even have the definition of fun really defined. I mean, when my kid was growing up, there was nobody to guide us, honestly, and all we learned was as we saw in the society. So everything was humongous birthday parties and, throwing lavish parties and having fun. And, but it was never about, and it was more about just taking care of my kid instead of allowing my kid to be.
It's about making them capable.
Which kind of hit me way later when she was a 7-year-old. It's not that I haven't spent quality time with my kid. I have, but I just feel that I should have, probably allowed myself to listen to her more in terms of my observation. She didn't have to tell me, and I should have seen it or listened to her need, which I felt that I was. I didn't observe enough my child when she was there.
So there's something you think you want to tell every parent, that step back and observe your child. Don't have your fixed ideas and notions of what you want your child to be. Sit back and observe.
Observe, and trust me, they will tell you a lot even without saying anything. And that is what I miss. I miss that part that I think I was driven a little by the worldly notion of what a parent should be and what a child should be and what schooling should be. And I find myself very lucky the way I grew up and I was raised. And I think we did a lot of work with our hands when I was small. And and the way we learned, I mean, I also give a lot of credit to my school where I grew up, I mean, where I studied, that it was a lot more about deep thinking than otherwise. And those were the things that kind of hit me really hard when Taranam was 7-year-old. That, I'm missing out on that part.
Imparting that. And I want to actually thank the teacher who called your child up.
Yeah.
Because that's how it started.
That's how it started.
The silver lining. Cool, Geeta, thank you so much for being here. Wonderful chatting with you.
I hope you
Like I said, every time I chat with you, I learn a lot. And I look forward to chatting more. And all the best to you, all the best to Mala, all the best to Sweven. And yeah.
Yes, thank you.